Hi everyone. Today I look forward to sharing with you a story that I wrote several years ago. It was back when I first started teaching that I came up with this. One of the vocabulary words for my third grade class was the word pleasant, and I liked that as a vocabulary word, and I love writing, so it just came to my mind this story of a pheasant, and I titled it The Pleasant Pheasant. Before writing the story, I thought about a whole bunch of different things, or a bunch of things influenced my writing. And these I want to present to you before I read the story to you. First of all, what genre is this story? In other words, what style of writing, what style of literature am I producing? I'll talk more about that at the actually in the next slide or two. It sort of developed as I was writing. And then the characters of the story, that's something for you to think about as I read the story to you. The problem, what is the problem of the story? Usually there's one problem in a fictional tale. This is fiction. But sometimes there's more than one problem. But what is solved by the very end? Like, what is the conclusion of the story? That usually comes from the solution to a problem. Now, here are some questions for you to consider as I read the story to you. First of all, before even reading, what is a pheasant? I already showed you this picture. That's a photograph, an image of a pheasant. But what does that picture show? What is that? It's a bird. And how much do you know about pheasants? Does it look like it flies around the world? Or does it seem like maybe it would hang out just in the grass, like dry grass? Also, what does the word pleasant mean? In what way would this pheasant potentially be pleasant? And who are the characters? I already mentioned that. What is the problem? That's something you're going to be listening for as I read. And what's the main idea of the story? What is the story getting at? So a pourquoi tale is one that explains how something came to be. In other words, why does the chipmunk have stripes down its back? And you could see from this wild Venn diagram that it overlaps with myth, which would be like an explanation of things, and also folk tales that are passed down throughout the years. But it doesn't have to include either elements from either of those. It can stand completely on its own. It often has animals that it uses. It can be a tall tale, like an exaggerated story. It can also, in its definition, it is a creation myth in that it explains where something came from. Carolina didn't like her name very much, but she loved her nickname. Friends and family had shortened the name her parents had given her and called her Care in everyday conversation. This suited her quite well. Mr. Ector, Care's father, was a funny pheasant. He had grown plump over the years and would waddle around murmuring to himself. His feathers were untidy. Whenever Care tried to straighten them with her beak, he would fuss, even though he secretly liked it. Care's mom, Mrs. Ector, she had to have everything just right. If one of her pheasant feathers was out of place, her whole day would be ruined. Care liked to look nice, but what she enjoyed even more than that was making others feel good. She was so very pleasant. And there you have the introduction of the word pleasant. And how does this set up Care and her family? When one of Care's friends was hurt, Care would be the first on the scene to help with whatever a pheasant could do. If a friend needed something, Care would lend it. Sometimes Care would not have what her friend desired and would either buy or make it. One time, the Busy Beaver family had lost their entire dam during a big storm. Care didn't have a dam that the family could borrow. She couldn't even really help build a new one, for pheasants are quite small with little more than a pecking beak. Do you know what Care did? She organized a committee that encouraged every friendly animal from the immediate vicinity, that would be the area surrounding where the beaver family lived, to both donate and drag logs, sticks, or whatever he or she could carry to the down-and-out beaver family. The beavers were so thankful that they carved Care a statue of their family, which Mr. and Mrs. Ector have in their home to this day. Care always seemed to know what to say when comforting someone. Sometimes that meant not saying anything at all. She might put her soft wing around a friend and just sit with him or her, or play a game with the animal. Care could find the perfect way to cheer anyone up. Once, a bunch of baby bears were losing their lunches every day and going hungry. This made Care sad. She did not have enough food to share with the bears, and she knew that bears, even baby bears, can be dangerous for a pheasant to pal around with. That means to be close friends with. So Care put on her sleuth cap and began looking for clues to the missing mess. That can be a word for food. As it turned out, many individuals were cooperative with Care, and she quickly cracked the crazy caper. The rascally raccoons had been robbing the baby bears right under their noses. Not only did Care figure out the mystery, but she helped the baby bears learn how to look out for mischievous mammals in the future. Care's reputation preceded her wherever she went. In other words, the idea of how Care behaved and who she was went before her. People knew about Care before they ever even met her. Everyone that knew her was happy to do so. No one found fault with her. As she grew older and older and more animals learned of her, many began to imitate her actions and attitude. Finally, by the time the Care was old and dying, her life was that of legend around the meadow, woods, and distant lands. Although never marrying, Miss Ector produced an even longer-lasting progeny, that would be offspring, than that of chicks. Her name came to represent all that was good and wholesome in a person. When someone was not nice, he or she would be said to lack her name. And what was her name? The next time that you have to make a decision about what would be the right or best thing to do, ask yourself, what would Care Ector do? And that's the end of the story of the Pleasant Pheasant. Did you put it together yet? You have to say her name a little bit faster. Care Ector. Character. Character. If you have good character, then you are presenting or using good traits, positive traits, character traits that people can appreciate and that are nice and pleasant. So the Pleasant Pheasant, Care Ector, has created the word that we now use to describe someone's behavior, someone's character. Character is a multi-meaning or word or homonym. It means more than one thing. So Care in the story, she actually is a character in the story, along with all the other characters, the raccoons, the beavers, the baby bears. But she also, and this is a pourquoi explaining how her name has come to take the character of a story and apply that to a synonym for simply good traits that people model. So if you have good character, then you're being pleasant and helpful. Now, the problems in the story. There are multiple problems that character helps to solve. But what is the overarching problem? Well, it's subtle. How do you develop character? That's the question. And it's modeled throughout the story. You develop it by thinking of others, putting others first, and helping people. That's the solution to how should I or how could I develop a good character. I hope you enjoyed the story. See you next time.